Instead, they have to pull their bodies along on the ground, which gives them this weird crawling kind of look when they're moving. This makes them very awkward and vulnerable when they're on land. Hello everyone, welcome to Nature Explorers. My name is Darcy and I'm here from the Danbury Public Library. Today's animals are known as the slowest mammals on Earth. They move so slow that a certain type of plant actually grows on their fur. Do you know what they are? They're sloths. These little guys can be found through Central America and the northern part of South America. Many zoos actually have sloths as residents. In fact, there are 2 sloths living here in Connecticut at the Beardsley Zoo. Their names are Hope and Jabba. Sloths are a favorite of many people on social media. They have cute faces, cuddly-looking bodies, and they live a chilled, laid-back lifestyle. What's not to like, right? The thing is, sloths weren't always as adorable as they are today. Millions of years ago, sloths were much, much bigger. Prehistoric ground sloths were giants. Some were nearly 20 feet long as an elephant, from nose to tail, and they had massive claws. Claws large enough and strong enough to pull down whole tree branches so they can eat. Can you imagine a sloth that big? Today's sloths are a lot less intimidating. Modern sloths can reach between 2 to 2 feet in length and weigh between 9 and 20 pounds, so we're talking a much smaller animal. They have coarse brown fur, long limbs, and curved claws, which helps them to climb and to hang upside down from trees. There are 2 living families of sloths. There are the 2-toed sloths and the 3-toed sloths. So how do you tell them apart? If you guess by the number of toes, you're correct. While all sloths have 3 toes on their back feet, the 2-toed sloths have 2 toes on their front feet, and the 3-toed have 3 toes on their front feet. These 2 families of sloths are divided further into 6 species of sloths. There are 4 3-toed sloths. These include the brown-throated 3-toed sloth, which is the most common living species of sloth on the earth. It lives in the forests of Central and South America. There's also the pale-throated 3-toed sloth, which lives in the tropical rainforest of northern South America. The maned 3-toed sloth, now found only in the Atlantic forest of southeastern Brazil. And the pygmy 3-toed sloth, which lives only on a small island off the coast of Panama. The remaining 2 species of sloth are 2-toed sloths. They are the southern 2-toed sloth found in Venezuela, the Guianas, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, and Brazil. And Hoffman's 2-toed sloth, which lives in tropical rainforest in Ecuador, as well as in parts of Peru, Brazil, and Bolivia. Sloths move so slowly that a certain type of algae can actually grow in their fur. It sounds gross, right? It's plants growing on you. But it's actually really beneficial to the sloths. The sloths and the algae have what is known as a symbiotic relationship. This is when 2 species coexist or live together, and they benefit from this coexistence. So what's happening here is that the algae is getting a nice, safe place where it can grow on the sloth's fur. That's what the sloth is providing to the relationship. But what the algae gives the sloth is camouflage. The algae growing on the sloth's fur gives it a greenish color, and this helps it to blend in with leaves when they're all hanging up in the trees. So if they're holding really still, which they usually do, and they've got that green algae on them, it makes them much harder to spot by predators. Sloth's fur is also unique because it grows in a different direction than most fur. Most animals, the fur grows down towards their feet. So like a dog, the fur will grow all the way going downwards towards the feet, pointing in this direction. But with sloths, it's the opposite. Their fur actually grows towards their bodies. So instead of growing down like this for dogs, sloths actually grow like this. And the reason for that is because sloths spend so much of their time hanging upside down in the trees. And when you have your arms up like this and your legs up like this, and if your fur is growing towards your feet like normal, what's going to happen when it rains? Oh, all that rain is going to get into your fur and under your fur, and you're going to get cold. So what the sloth does is its fur grows down towards its body. And because of this, when it rains, all that rainwater just slides right down the fur and right off the sloth. So it works really well. Now, sloths are known for their speed, or their lack of speed, actually. The word sloth actually means slow. So why are sloths so slow? Well, this has to do with the calories that they take in. Calories are little powerhouses that are found inside of food. It's what we use to make energy. And the more calories that's in a food, the more potential energy we can get by eating that food. Three-toed sloths are herbivores. This means they only eat plants, so things like leaves, fruit, and twigs. Two-toed sloths are omnivores. They eat primarily plants, but occasionally they will eat an insect, or maybe a bit of fish, or a lizard if they can manage to catch it. But whether they're three-toed or two-toed, there is one major part of their diet that makes up pretty much the majority of it, and that is leaves. And these are very tough, dense, hard to process leaves. These leaves also don't have a lot of calories in them. On top of this, sloths digest their food slower than any other mammal on the planet. They have large, slow-acting, multi-chambered stomachs that they use to break down those really tough, fibrous, and hard-to-digest leaves. As a result, sloths have a very low metabolic rate. This means the process of their bodies, everything from heartbeat to breathing to digestion, that's all your metabolic rate. Theirs is so low that it's 40 to 45% lower than any other animal their size. In fact, as much as 2/3 of a well-fed sloth's body weight is made up of the contents of their stomach. So they've eaten a really big meal of leaves. Oh, most of their weight is actually in their stomachs because of all that food, because they haven't digested it yet. It can take up to a month or more for them to fully digest a meal. Because of this, their body doesn't process a lot of calories. Remember, they're not getting a lot from their diet. And then on top of that, since it takes so long for their bodies to actually break down their food, they're not stripping away a lot of those calories so that their bodies can use it for fuel. To save energy, the sloth moves very slowly, slower than any other mammal on Earth. Because of this, they don't tend to travel very far from home. On average, a sloth can travel about 123 feet in a day. That's less than half the length of a football field. So these guys, they're not heavy movers. And they move, as we said, very slowly. A sloth moves at an average rate of 13 feet per minute. Sounds like a lot, right? But your average room in a house is anywhere between 12 to 15 feet long. So it takes them a full minute to walk the length of a room. It's kind of slow, right? How long would it take you to walk across the room? A couple of seconds, right? Yeah, you're much faster than a sloth. The thing is, sloths can go faster. If they're in danger or they feel threatened, they can pick the speed up by quite a bit. Actually, no, I'm lying. They really can't. They can go at a maximum of 15 feet per minute if they're scared. That's not much faster, right? No. Unfortunately, most predators can move a lot faster. So the sloth relies on holding very still and in that camouflage that is provided them by the algae, by that symbiotic relationship, in order to hide from predators because they really just can't outrun them. So I want you to do something quick for me. I want you to run your tongue over your front teeth. Feel the front and then the back of your teeth and the edges. They're kind of sharp, aren't they? Yeah. Well, these are specialized teeth called incisors, and we use these to bite and rip into food, so we can take a chunk out of a sandwich or a chunk out of a candy bar, and then we can eat it. But sloths, they don't have incisors. In fact, they don't have any teeth in the front at all. No teeth. All their teeth are the side ones and going back. It's kind of unique, right? But then how do they get those leaves? Because they're not shoving the whole leaf in their mouth. They're actually taking bits of the leaf and slowly chewing it and then going back for another bit of the leaf. Well, what they do is, since they don't have incisors in the front like we do, they go ahead and they use their lips and they clamp their lips really hard down on the leaf. And when they got them all clamped up, then they lightly pull on the leaf. And they do this a couple of times, and eventually a bit of the leaf comes off. And they chew it up, swallow it, and go for the next bit of a leaf. Now, luckily for sloths, since they have such a low metabolic rate, they don't require a lot of food a day, so they can take their time eating their leaf and enjoying it and hanging out in the treetops and sleeping. Sloths actually sleep on average 15 hours a day, which means they're active at most 9 hours a day. It's not a lot. Sloths are heterotherms. This means for the most part they maintain a constant internal body temperature, like we do. But, like bears, if certain conditions are right, they can actually lower their body temperature. Their bodies hover between 86 and 93 degrees Fahrenheit. But if the conditions are right, they can go down as low as 68 degrees Fahrenheit. This puts their bodies into a form of torpor, which is what happens to our bears in the winter. It's not full hibernation because, if necessary, they can wake back up, bring their body temperature back up to their average normal, and continue on with their day. But if it gets really cold and they want to take a little bit of a snooze for a long period of time, they can do this. And they have those amazingly long claws. And what they do is they can dig those claws into the tree, their front claws and their back claws, and hang upside down and be completely asleep and still secured on that branch. It's really amazing. So if a sloth decides that it doesn't really want to sleep that much right now, it doesn't want to go into full torpor, but is feeling a little cold, what a sloth will do is it'll actually change its position in a tree. So it'll go out from kind of crawl slowly along the branch until it gets to a point where it's nice and sunny. And then it'll lay there in sun for a while, and that'll warm its temperature back up. If the sloth begins to feel too hot, it'll change its position and move toward an area that's more shaded by the leaves, and that'll help to cool its body down. Sloths are arboreal. This means they live in trees. They'll spend the majority of their lives hanging out in the tree canopy of the forest. This is where their food is, so it makes sense to stay there, but it's also the safest place for them because hiding out in the leaves and using again that camouflage from the algae, they can stay safe from predators. Things like jaguars and eagles like to eat sloths, and these guys are a lot faster than the sloth is. So staying motionless and being hidden by the leaves is a sloth's best defense. Now, we've mentioned before that they use their big, long claws to dig into the limbs of the tree so they can hang upside down. Hanging upside down is their favorite position. It's to the point where, as we said, even their fur has developed to grow backwards than most animals, so rainwater will run off when they're hanging upside down. They will eat, sleep, and even give birth to babies while hanging upside down. Since sloths live in the trees, they must be related to monkeys, right? Or maybe koalas, who also have a very low metabolism from the type of food they eat. Well, not exactly. While sloths, primates, and koalas all share similar characteristics, they are not at all related to each other. These animals each develop their traits independent of each other. When this happens, when we have different animals that have similar traits but are in no way related to each other, this is called convergent evolution. The fact is that sloths are actually more closely related to anteaters and aardvarks than they are to monkeys or koalas. Now, sloths will leave their trees. In fact, they leave their trees on an average of once a week. They do this to go to the bathroom. And they'll go in a specific spot under their tree, same spot every time, do their business, bury it, and go back up the tree. They'll also venture away from their tree to look for additional food, to find other sloths, because sloths for the most part are very solitary animals, or if they need to leave their tree because for some reason the tree is no longer safe. Well, not really the sea, but they can swim. In fact, sloths are surprisingly good swimmers, much better than they are getting around on flat land. The reason for this is because of how their bodies are built. Sloths have really long arms that are designed to hold them upside down when they're hanging from trees. Sloths also have a much smaller muscle mass than other animals. So most animals have a muscle mass that makes up 40 to 45% of their body weight. That means almost half of your body weight is made out of muscle. And if you're a bodybuilder and you've got really big muscles, well, that means even more of your body weight is muscle. It means you're really strong. But a sloth's muscle mass makes up only 25 to 30% of their body weight. So this means they're very kind of wimpy. They really don't have a lot of good muscles. And because of this, and the design of their limbs, they can hold upside down like that, they actually can't walk on land. They can't support their own weight. Instead, they have to pull their bodies along on the ground, which gives them this weird crawling kind of look when they're moving. This makes them very awkward and vulnerable when they're on land. A sloth on the ground is at its slowest rate. It can go at most 9.5 feet per minute. That's not fast at all. Well, if this is the case, then why do sloths swim so well? They swim so well due to those really long arms of theirs. They can make big, huge strokes in the water. And on top of that, their bodies are naturally buoyant. This means able to float. Our bodies are buoyant as well. This buoyancy helps the sloth to support their body weight. So instead of their muscles having to do that, the water's doing it. So they can put more of their muscle into stroking across the water and making big, big movements to help them swim. In fact, a sloth is at its fastest when it's in the water. It can travel an amazing 44 feet per minute, a massive improvement from their regular average of 13 feet per minute. Sloths can do something else really amazing. They can reduce their already slow metabolism even more, lowering their heartbeat to less than a third of their normal rate. This allows them to hold their breath underwater for up to 40 minutes. Wow, that's amazing, right? Now, not all sloths are endangered. Some of the 6 species of sloths are being threatened by habitat loss. Deforestation, which is the removal of trees in the tropical forests of South and Central America, is a major factor that sloths are dealing with. Remember, sloths rely on trees for food and for safety. The World Wildlife Fund and a program called ARPR for Life have helped the Brazilian government to create a $215 million fund to set aside and maintain 150 million acres of Brazilian Amazon rainforest in order to help protect sloths. But it's not just the deforestation that the sloths are facing. Sloths are also threatened by poachers and by people capturing them to sell them as pets. Because remember, sloths look very cute, right? They do. But the thing is, sloths don't make very good pets. They have a very specific diet that we just can't replicate too easily unless we have special training. So while they do okay in zoos, you really should not be trying to keep a sloth as a pet. They're not going to be happy and they're not going to be healthy. The smallest sloth, called the pygmy three-toed sloth, is found only on a very small island off the coast of Panama. And this one, because it's only in that one little spot in the whole earth, is critically endangered. This means it's very close to the extinction side of our conservation line. Not a good place to be. Some, like the Maine three-toed sloth, are considered vulnerable. This means their population needs to be monitored to make sure it isn't getting too low. Other sloths, like the southern two-toed sloth, are listed as a least concern animal. This means that their population are large, healthy, and stable. This is where we want all animals to be, is on that least concern side of our conservation line. Now, the chances of meeting up with a sloth are very rare. They don't like to leave the safety of their trees, and we don't tend to climb up trees to look for them. And aside from Hope and Jabba at the zoo, we're very unlikely to see them here in Connecticut. Still, sloths are wild animals, and like all wild animals, they can and will defend themselves if they feel threatened. Their claws are 3 to 4 inches long, and they can cause very big and deep scratches. On top of that, the fur of a sloth houses a number of pests that we really don't want on our bodies. Things like ticks, mites, beetles, and even moths. In fact, there is a species of moth called the sloth moth that lives exclusively in sloth fur, no place else on Earth. So even though they look cute and cuddly, it's really best to observe sloths from a distance. I hope you've enjoyed learning about sloths today. I will see you next week when we start a whole new unit of Nature Explorers focusing on prehistoric animals. So if you like dinosaurs and things like saber-toothed cats and even the giant ground sloth we talked about very briefly here, tune in next week when we start our prehistoric segment. Until then, stay safe, stay curious, and have a happy new year. Bye, everyone.